weeks. How big of a decision is this on Grayscale?
It's massive. This has been a years-long pursuit for Grayscale. Remember, it has been fighting the SEC's decision, and now it has the courts in their favor. If you look at the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, this is the main entity that would face a conversion. This is one of the longest-standing, largest trusts holding Bitcoin, in which retail and institutional investors have been able to gain exposure for many, many years now. There is a whole host of other ETF filings in the pipeline, and this is boding well for those firms.
We're probably going to see the next 3 months have a lot of activity between these different players. And listen, the legal bandwidth of BlackRock and Fidelity, as well as ARK, is going to be far, far larger than some of the crypto players, and we will likely see those conversations get pushed further than what we've seen to date. So it's very exciting for the United States.
What's going on, guys? K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great week so far. It was a very nice pump that we saw yesterday on Bitcoin, primarily news driven. You could see everyone is talking about it, ABC News, CNN, and like Eric Belchunas says, it is highly rare for the word ETF or even ETFs to really appear in mainstream headlines. They said this usually only happens once every 7 years. It's generally not that exciting, but because it's Bitcoin, a lot of people are extremely interested. Now, we could see right here that Bitcoin got all the way up to about $28,200, but it has currently pulled back. So the biggest question is, was this just a giant fake out? Is the same thing that happened during the XRP Ripple case going to happen, where we just retrace the whole move? That is what everyone is asking. Now, I just want to also point out that we did in fact break above, but now today we have lost the 200 daily. So should we be getting excited just yet? Well, I do want to point out the fact that the SEC has 2 ETF decisions that it needs to make this weekend. So is this news going to just all of a sudden turn around and shock everyone and BlackRock gets approved, over the weekend? Well, a lot of people are thinking that's not likely, but we weren't expecting this news either, right? So it was a very unexpected pump. Now, I want to talk about what's going on with the S&P and the DXY because they are both at very, very critical levels, and we cannot ignore that. So we have a lot of things going on. We need to pay attention. I'm going to unpack everything for you. Make sure you watch to the very end. We're going to go over what this means for the ETF. We're going to have expert opinions on it, and I'm also going to let you know what I'm looking at in the chart. So if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, consider it. And also, guys, I had kind of hinted at the fact that I was looking into another possible crypto exchange because now with all this KYC, there's a lot of people that can't trade on these different platforms. They're all getting kicked off. Well, this is a new platform, guys. They've been around for about a month, and it's called CoinCatch. Now, I've done research. I've done due diligence on this, and if you guys are interested, if you've ever traded on BitGet, it is basically the same exact thing. In fact, when I look at this, it's almost basically like they have BitGet and they just change the color schemes. So if you're trading over there and you want a higher withdrawal and you want no KYC, they do offer that. And I have spoke to the team. I reached out to them and I asked them if they could do any kind of bonus for you guys, since they are a newer exchange, and they agreed. So if you guys want to use the link below in the description, you can actually get up to, I believe it's like $10,000 or $10,125, and then you can also get $100 basically just for signing up and doing a deposit. Now, of course, you do have to trade with that, right? You're not just going to sign up and they're not going to give you $100. But I'm just saying, guys, if you're looking for an alternative, non-KYC, basically like a BitGet clone, if you ask me, then I would definitely check out CoinCatch. So I do have that below if you're interested. And if you guys want, I can make a tutorial on this, but let's be honest, if you watch the BitGet tutorial, it is basically the same exact exchange. But check it out, guys, if you're interested. I just wanted to let you know that. Let's dive in. Let's have a look at what's going on. So as we can see right here, we came so unbelievably close to flipping all of these EMAs, or basically, busting out of this guppy formation. But what I will point out is you can see we were in this deep blue, and now that we have had these lower EMAs cross back up, we have negated that. So that was something we had been talking about, right? Heading down into these areas, we had never seen any red. We did see some red. So what I'm looking for is to really have a nice inversion on those. Now, we did close the CME futures gap. We called it. I didn't think it would happen that quickly, but literally the next day we closed it. So we can scratch that off the list. In fact, I'm going to take this out here now because we don't need this anymore. But you can see that according to futures, the futures markets right now are actually betting that the Bitcoin price is going to be going lower, right? At least as of tomorrow. You can see this is lower than the spot price right now. The other unfortunate thing, and I had actually mentioned this over on Twitter, was that we were above this 200 weekly, arguably the most important moving average for Bitcoin's history. So we are back again below that. Now, this doesn't mean it's the end of the world. Keep in mind, we have until the end of the week to close above this candle, but maintaining price below this, it does create a little bit of short-term concern, right? Now, I want to point out some very, very interesting moving averages. So the yellow moving average is the 50, and the purple moving average is the 20. And generally speaking, you could see that once we get above both of these, we tend to kind of ride on the 20, right? And then once we lose that 20, we tend to see the 50 as support. But if we end up losing that, that's generally where we go to the downside. And flip side, when we end up getting above both of them, it's usually an explosive move. So what I have marked out here is all the times that we've flipped bullish, right? So we've had the lower moving average move above the higher moving average, and then the bearish crosses or the death crosses. So the death crosses are red and the bullish are green. And you can see that historically speaking, whenever we get these crosses, we usually stay with these moving averages in this order for quite a long time before having the death cross, which then obviously puts us into that bear, right? So you can see right here, this one was July 12th. And, obviously we can do these if you want. So from top to top, say you didn't sell here because it's a lagging indicator, that still netted you an 8,397% from, this is crazy. You're talking a $6 Bitcoin up to a $581 Bitcoin, right? And then we had that bearish cross and we went into the bull market. Same thing here. I'm not going to go through all the numbers because it's going to take too much time. You guys know, obviously, astronomical returns. But right here, boom, we have that cross. And look, these never cross over ever again, right? Same thing right here. Obviously, COVID is like the one thing that throws all the charts off. But again, if you kind of just negate that, the COVID crash, which messed up all the charts, basically same concept, right? You could even argue if you really, really want to just get rid of COVID and just say, okay, how about just scratch this out right here and say that we started there. Same concept. Look at this. We came very low, but it acted as support. And then boom, right here, we got the cross down. So what are we doing right now? Well, we've officially had the cross. That cross happened on April 10th, okay? And since then, we have been respecting the 20, but right here, we lost it, and the 20 is now acting as the resistance. So what am I trying to say here? Am I just rambling on? No, my point is we do not want to see something like this, where you have this 50 moving like this, and then this just falls down under, because then what we're going to end up getting is something like we got back here in COVID, which ended in a massive, massive crash for Bitcoin, right? So that is something that I'm going to be monitoring very, very, very closely, as well as the EMA ribbon, right? And of course, if you guys do want to learn how to trade, again, check out over here for sure. Check out CoinCatch, but also check out the tutorials. Like I said, if you want to find one that's basically the same, watch my BitGet tutorial. It's in the description below. If you know how to trade on BitGet, you know how to trade on this. They're like literally almost copy paste the same exact things, or at least that's how I view it. But talking about everything that's been going on right now, discussing this Bloomberg situation, what we really need to talk about is that the market was kind of caught off guard. But the one thing that's going to end up happening after this move, and this is why I was talking about if you guys wanted to trade, you wanted to learn how to trade, we had a very boring market for a while. We are going to head into some volatility. And the next literally 3 to 6 months, or at least just until the end of this year, could actually end up being a trader's heaven.
You're just seeing that the market was not expecting this news, and overall sentiment was negative. Implied volatility was at its lowest. And so really what that sets us up for is a very volatile Q3 and Q4. We're probably going to see the next 3 months have a lot of activity between these different players. And listen, the legal bandwidth of BlackRock and Fidelity, as well as ARK, is going to be far, far larger than some of the crypto players. And we will likely see those conversations get pushed further than what we've seen to date. So it's very exciting for the United States.
And we'll get back to the ETF news in just a bit. I do want to just talk about a couple more quick things on the chart, and then we'll get on out of here and talk about the other stuff. But, you know, until we lose some of these major upward sloping trends, we did lose the short-term trend. Yes, that does, in fact, affect the momentum. It does, in fact, mean that currently we're not putting in a higher high, we're not putting in a lower low, not officially, not yet, but again, it is a possibility. But remember, the overall structure of the market has not been broken. We've only had a short-term uptrend broken. So I'm not going to say it's not important, but I am going to say that we've never, you know, you saw right here where these two lines intersected. Which one was the most important? Well, we don't really know yet. But, you know, I guess you could go with the one that's been there longer, which would be this yellow line. So you want to talk about worst case scenarios? Could Bitcoin end up back down in the $20,000 region? It's possible that we have a retest here. Obviously, breaking anywhere above 32 would probably put us in very bullish territory. But for the most part, I still have not seen that structure broken. Two things that are a little bit concerning right now is we have the DXY kind of stalling out at this extremely, critical pivotal moment right here. You could see all the interactions. We had resistance, we had support, we had resistance right here, a couple fake outs, another fake out right here. So that's the level that we're at again. And also the DXY, which has been in this downtrend, looked like it was breaking, but what it's doing right now is it's currently retesting the top. You can see this candle right here is retesting the top. What you don't want to see is this thing start moving to the upside. If that happens, then you are going to probably see Bitcoin fall, unfortunately. Unless, of course, the ETF is approved this weekend, then I think that's going to just throw a wrench in the gears for the DXY haters. But, you know, again, pointing out, could we go down to 20? Yes, it's possible. Could we go down to 15 again? I don't think we're going to do that. I think there's too much interest at 20. And also, right here, we have another major level on the VPVR right around that 23,000-ish level. Again, massive influence. You could see this right above my head. You could see all of this interest in Bitcoin right here. I think it would be ridiculous to go any lower than that. And if we did, as you know, I'm not trying to scare everyone, but the next area, if we were to lose, below this, maybe you have a little bit of a retest again around the double bottom, but then you're talking about an $11,500 Bitcoin. And again, I think that is just ridiculous. I am not going to take the side of the bears. I just can't believe these people that have been screaming for a recession and a lower low for 10 months. We've been in a bull rally, or a bull, it's a bull trend. You could say it's not a bull market, it's a bull trend, and we've been in it for 10 months. So, whatever. Look, if we get a lower low and things start looking really bad, I'll let you guys know. What are we talking about here from top to bottom, though? Bitcoin is down 14% from the top of this previous move. That is absolutely nothing in Bitcoin terms. Absolutely nothing. And you are seeing right now, all these people push back. They're sick of Gary. They're sick of the SEC. Fire Gary. Gensler is literally trading right now. And, Representative Warren Davidson, he's commenting on it, saying more evidence that Gensler's actions at the SEC are arbitrary and capricious, right? That seems to be the word of the day, capricious. And, they denied it, basically telling them that they were wrong in this assessment. So the CEO himself from Grayscale actually came out, and I'm going to kind of just turn it over to him. This is what he had to say on CNBC Market Alert.
For you.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
What does this mean for Grayscale now? What's the next step?
Well, this is, more than a year-long process. Last June, the SEC denied our application to convert GBTC to an ETF. We immediately filed a lawsuit. Went through briefs, went through oral arguments, and to yesterday receive an opinion from the court that unanimously had 3 judges all rule in our favor, vacating the SEC's denial order is a huge victory for us, for our investors, for really the crypto community and the investment community as a whole.
Yeah, they called this arbitrary and capricious, the SEC's decision to deny this, just based on the idea that the futures market and the spot price were pretty closely linked, and it should be allowed to go ahead with that. The SEC says it is still looking into it. It does have the opportunity to appeal this, either to a full slate of judges on the D.C. court or to the U.S. Supreme Court. What happens? What could that mean? Because it could be an expensive fight to continue.
Sure. So today marks day 1 of a 45-day process where the SEC can request a rehearing. We really have to be patient now and follow the federal rules of appellate procedure here during that time period. And ultimately, the court will issue a final mandate that will detail the operational next steps.
Which means what from any investors in Grayscale or beyond? What are you looking at? What should they?
Yeah, I mean, in the interim, during this 45-day period, our lawyers are working, constructively, proactively with the SEC to pursue next steps as expeditiously as possible. We have to ensure that no one, especially the SEC, is not losing sight of the fact that there are nearly 1 million American investors who own GBTC today. So the patience that they've had inflicting any further harm on them, holding them back from bringing GBTC further into the regulatory perimeter would be a really missed opportunity and really directly violate the SEC's mandate.
Everything goes your way, how quickly could you get the ETF up and running?
Well, it really, again, depends on working proactively with the SEC. Throughout this process, we have had what we would think of as a professional disagreement with the SEC. The very foundation of the Grayscale business is making, crypto accessible through existing rules and regulations here in the U.S. And so we want to maintain that posture with the SEC, not only through this decision, but on a go-forward basis. GBTC is just the first of many products that Grayscale has that all intend to eventually convert into ETFs and have a whole family of digital asset ETFs here in the US.
So we can't full on just put on the party hats and celebrate just yet. There are still a lot more steps that we need to go to, specifically as far as Grayscale is concerned. But just having a look at the Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, we're noticing now that you're seeing the premium get a lot higher, right? A lot closer to zero. And like Ryan Selkis says, never forget, the US courts protected retail investors while the SEC held them hostage and hurt them to the tune of billions of dollars. This SEC is an illegitimate institution, the SEC, with a corrupt leader. It took the courts to rule that the SEC stick to its mission and rules. And this is not how it should be operating. We shouldn't have to constantly have to go to court with the SEC and have these different types of lawsuits, right? But this is the thing that we're talking about here. So if we, have a look at what's going on, is there a level of potential favoritism? Let's be honest here. Everyone says that, BlackRock owns the SEC, whatever. But, if BlackRock, now that Grayscale was sort of the earliest, if they were to approve it this weekend, the Grayscale ETF, would that show some kind of favoritism?
It could draw massive adoption from financial advisors, retail investors. Think about how much money on the sidelines could be sitting there from the likes of the large wirehouses that could become more comfortable about putting their clients into a regulated ETF exposed to Bitcoin rather than spot Bitcoin itself.
As Danny was talking about in terms of the pipeline, though, does this mean the SEC is like, well, all right, fine, you all get it? Or they're still going to be case-by-case basis, and is Grayscale then different?
That is the massive question here, the order, because we have seen from the other products out there linked to cryptocurrencies, the first ones out of the gate have had massive adoption by a landslide. So first out of the gate matters a lot. There's a lot of discussion about how the SEC handles this pipeline, because the idea here is not to make the same mistakes as we've seen in prior products, where the first ones out of the gate got a lot of inflows and then the other products tend to lag behind. The idea here is choice, and investor protection partially means also choice for investors.
Even Anthony Scaramucci comes out and says Gensler should resign. Now, if you guys did stick around to the end of this video, I wanted to show you this clip. It's like, I don't know who made this. It's 5 minutes long. And just watch this clip, or you can skip it if you want, but watch these clips of just Gensler. And, it's ridiculous how he has just avoided questions, created mass confusion, and ultimately essentially hurt investors in the process.
I hope you will take note of the frustration that so many members have had, and outside of this chamber have had, specifically on the job that you're doing and the non-response.
No, I'm speaking on my own behalf.
Did you coordinate with Democratic staff? And I ask because it happened before, and I want to be clear whether you operate of your own accord or whether there's some sort of coordinated approach to the damage that you're inflicting on America's capital markets.
This committee is not happy with that attitude or performance.
Your responses have been inadequate.
Can you explain why you failed to answer my letter, Mr. Chairman?
There's a letter that I just got in the last 2 weeks.
As an agency, have chosen to stonewall, obfuscate, and not do your job.
As a result, you've been an incompetent cop on the beat, doing nothing to protect everyday Americans and pushing American firms into the hands of the CCP. Your intention to work against SEC mission and put American investors in harm's way has been made very apparent, sir.
I think you've heard a lot of frustration with you about your response time, about getting back with the committee, about your passing regulations and not giving enough time.
You need to answer to Congress about the issues that you've had with the SEC staff union, the work environment you've cultivated at the SEC that's led to hemorrhaging of senior staff.
And once again, I find you trying to hide behind things for either a lack of willingness to be candor about it, or you're trying to obfuscate your oath of office, which was well and faithfully.
I think no should be a very simple answer for you here.
I think
that uncertainty is bad, is it not?
And I think that Congress has said that there's one agency, the Securities and Exchange Commission, under this committee.
And you won't answer my question, and you're the head of that agency. So give me a break. Come on.
I'm answering it in the generic because you would not want me to speak about any one set of facts and circumstance.
Regulatory burden on retail investors, small business, and capital markets, the bread and butter of the United States of America.
But it is your duty to respond and comply with congressional inquiries. If you continue to thwart this institution by ignoring our requests and providing incomplete responses, we will be left with no choice but to pursue all avenues to compel the information or documents we need and the American people need and deserve to see themselves.
There can be a process here by which you oblige this committee and produce the documents that have been requested. It's that simple. If I wanted to hear preaching, I'd go to church. You were asked a question. A document was requested. You have an obligation to produce it. Now, if we need to take extraordinary measures to protect the information within that document, it can be done so. But please spare me the preaching.
Everyone on this dais represents different parts of the United States of America, and by ignoring our letters, you are effectively ignoring the American people. And make no mistake, we will hold you accountable.
Chairman Gensler, your record of failures to protect investors and abuses of power make it clear that we need to restructure the Securities and Exchange Commission. You have high staff turnover, unhappy people leaving your office, and unhappy companies and capital leaving our country. You can't just exclude retail investors from markets and claim it's for their own good. Say in your statements that there's clarity in the market and the rules are clear, just come on in. You can't even answer the question.
We're in court and active discussions and litigation on that.
I'll close with this. Chair Gensler, your responses to congressional inquiries have been unacceptable. 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 Unacceptable.
And make no mistake, we will hold you. Make no mistake, we will hold you. Make no mistake, we will hold you accountable.
All right, if you made it to the end of that, I don't know who made that music. That music's a little weird in that, but I mean, come on, Gary. No wonder Fire Gary Gensler is trending right now. Also, just want to end on some of the other big news today is that Twitter, or X, is now licensed to store, transfer, and exchange Bitcoin and digital assets for its users. And I don't have it pulled up right now, but I believe they just got the okay in the state of Rhode Island, or at least that's where the court was. I'm not 100% sure, but I do know that they have the ability to do this, and they could be potentially integrating at any point. So, you can see right here, Arizona, Georgia, Maryland, Michigan, Missouri, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island as the currency transmitter. So there you guys go. So there you go. It's happening, and that's all I can say. I don't know. You guys, if you think it's going to go back down below 20K, I'd be happy to be wrong. I've had people call me out and say that I'm totally wrong and it's going to go lower. I just don't agree. I think there's a whirlwind happening right now. We have the ETF possibly being approved. We have eventually the Fed going to get tired, right? They're going to pause. They said they might hold for the year of 2024. Okay, great. 2025, they're probably going to end up reversing. right, cutting rates. At the same time, we're having the Bitcoin halving. I don't know. Kind of seems like a perfect storm, and I would really hate to be on the wrong side of the trade, guys. So if you are interested in going to Bitcoin Amsterdam, I've heard it's really fun. I'm not sure if I'll be able to make it out there, but if you want, you can use the code. It's Zombie. I believe it's Zombie. Put that below for an extra 10% off. And just remember that, you know, obviously the price does go up if you guys are waiting on these ticket price increases. So again, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Remember, if you do want a exchange that does not do KYC, now, are they going to do this forever? I don't know. Probably once they get big. You know how it goes. But for now, if you're looking for an opportunity and you do want to trade with those higher withdrawals, without having to, you know, show them IDs and all that kind of stuff. Like, I can't tell people what to do, but I can just say that this is there. It's an option if you guys want to use it. So that's it again for me. You guys rock. Thanks for coming back. And again, if you do want to learn how to trade, check out the tutorials. Apex is decentralized 100%. And then if you want to watch the BitGet, it's the same basically for this. So if you guys want to learn, that's all below. Thanks again for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.